as we move into the new year, it's time to do a bit of reflection and look back at the previous year and all the things it brought us, specifically the best of. That is what this video is about. I'll be going into 2025 and looking at the best of TV, music and film. Alright, let's start this off with the first category, that being music. Let's start with soundtracks. Honourable mentions are Bad Motherfucker by Logic, as well as Trunks by A$AP Rocky. But at number 3 we have Everybody's Looking at Me by Eminem from the Stands documentary. This song was quite refreshing to hear, especially as it's an old Eminem track which wasn't a leak. And while it was disappointing to only get one new track off of the soundtrack album, at least this particular track was decent and from a period of Eminem which I truly loved. Number 2, we have Both Eyes Closed by A$AP Rocky from the movie Highest to Lowest. The song is a great slow-styled song from A$AP, who, while I love when he's in more fast-style beats, he worked wonders on this track, and while he had others on the soundtrack, to me this was the more memorable. But at number 1, it's Pals by Young Fathers from the movie 28 Years Later. This song, while only an instrumental, was an addictive listen, falling in love with the drums and the sudden change they have over the beat. The way it was used in the film too was fantastic, really adding tension and suspense. On to our second category, best collab songs. In honourable mentions we have JID featuring Eminem, Animals Part 1, Clips featuring Tyler the Creator, POV, and Tyler the Creator featuring Madison McFerrin, Don't Worry Baby. But at number 3 we have West Side Gun, an Egypt remix featuring Doshi. This was a remix feature that, once I heard, I was hooked. From the beat all the way to both artists' approach to the song, they did a fantastic job, and this particular track shows Doshi is just a good rapper as well as a commercial artist. I feel this didn't get enough love from her fan base or the hip hop world in general. At number 2 we have Matt Corman, Oh My God featuring Logic. A track I was very much not expecting, but boy did Logic bring his A game and perform a fantastic feature verse which has been some time. Then Matt comes in, and while sounding like Drake in my eyes, he also killed this track. It was such a shame the song didn't blow up, as it's great from both artists. But at number 1, it's Clips, Chains and Whips featuring Kendrick Lamar. The clips kill it from both artists' verse, and the hook is very catchy, but it's Kendrick Lamar who steals the show with a fantastic verse. But now, on to my favourite songs of the year. Starting with honourable mentions, we have J. Cole, Clouds, JID featuring Clips, Community, Logic with Old Logic, and Conway the Machine featuring Tony Yayo and DJ Who Kid, Hell Let's Loose. At number 3 we have Everybody's Looking at Me by Eminem. At number 2 is Catch Me If You Can by Logic. I love this song, as the entire year Logic released not so great songs, and when this was released I genuinely loved hearing it from a lyric standpoint to the beat itself. But at number 1, my all-time favourite song of the year is Sugar on My Tongue by Tyler the Creator. This song was simply a fun vibe and never got stale when re-listening, and could argue is the best track on the album, that being Don't Tap the Glass. With that being music, let's move on to TV. Our first category is Best New Shows. Honourable mentions are Riot Women, Pluribus, and Adolescence. Number 3 is The Studio. This show was quite the ride. While I'd say it wasn't as funny as I'd hoped it to be, it was still very fun and quite an enjoyable show, and filled to the brim with cameos, a lot of them quite surprising. At number 2 we have Bad Thoughts. This show was more dark and hysterical than I thought it to be, mainly because I had doubts on Tom Segura. Evidently I was wrong, as it was filled with disturbing stories and just outright ridiculous concepts which had me in tears. But at number 1 is Black Rabbit. This show was not only fantastically written, but had a very hooking plot and great character development. While I will say it was a slow start, it gained more traction after the 3rd episode and honestly became a very memorable show, especially with great performances from both Jason Bateman as well as Jude Law. On to our second category, shows that we had to say goodbye to in 2025. Our honourable mentions are Bosch Legacy, Wednesday Season 3, The Sandman Season 2, and Squid Game Season 3. But at number 3 is You Season 5, which the final season was a mix of good and bad. And while it gave an ending which Joe definitely deserved, I felt in areas it was rushed and badly written and felt different to what the show used to be like 1 or 2 seasons ago. At number 2 is Stranger Things Season 5. After years of waiting to see the show from being delayed, we finally get to see the final season, and what an adventure it was. Seeing characters' lives being threatened, all of them nearly facing death, then seeing ultimate sacrifices being made. Quite the way to end the show. But at number 1, Dexter Original Sin. While this show didn't have an official end, it was sad it didn't get to continue due to unknown reasons, as the show added something new but also familiar to the franchise. I was so disappointed when not getting more, as the story was hooking and the cast were exceptionally fantastic from performance to the look. And now on to my third and final category for TV, Best Shows of the Year. Honourable mentions are Wednesday Season 2, Peacemaker Season 2, Power Book Force Season 3. But at number 3 we have Black Rabbit. At number 2 we have Dexter Resurrection. I had genuine fear for this show, as I thought they were milking Dexter, but this season took the character to new places and added an intriguing level of fear for the character as he's entering the lion's den, so to speak, and slowly and carefully taking out said lions one at a time, but while also reconnecting with his son. And I felt like they gave the son a better and more intriguing story to deal with in comparison to the previous show, which really was enjoyable to see. But at number 1, my ultimate favourite TV show of 2025 is Reacher Season 3. This season surprised me as it took a new direction, seeing Reacher being undercover while also investigating as someone from his past reappears to his surprise. The show was hooking and very action-packed and made me more of a fan than the previous season did. Now last but not least, for this year at least, is movies. First category is comedy films. Honourable mentions are Nobody 2 and Final Destination Bloodlines. At number 3 we have the film Good Fortunes. Now, I really enjoyed this film and how it tackles modern day society issues with jobs and how people are struggling. I enjoyed its trading places mixed with an angel plot added in. Now, while the comedy wasn't massive, it was really still a fun ride, especially with Keanu Reeves. At number 2 we have The Monkey. I was very much looking forward to this film as it's a Stephen King adaptation and it looked both dark and funny, and it very much delivered on both elements, some of it very shocking but also had me laughing hysterically. But at number 1 is The Roses. I really found this film hilarious, especially from the first 5 minutes, and the humour never faded. If anything, it grew as the film carried on up until the very end with a quite climactic but entertaining ending. Our second category is Best Horror Films. Honourable mentions are Companion, Drop and The Monkey. At number 3 we have Sinners. This film hooked me from the beginning as we learn about these twins and what they're planning to cook up for the town. To me, that was the more hooking element of the film than what came afterwards, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless. At number 2, Final Destinations Bloodlines. Now, I really enjoyed this film, but while I found it more funny than shocking, I was still enthralled with this film, adding more backstory to death and how to avoid him. I did think it had a weak third act, but its ending was hilariously entertaining. But at number 1, it is Weapons. This film was the best horror film of the year in my eyes, as it had a hooking story and had a great non-linear format and adds some great humour to lower the twisted plot when it comes towards us. Honestly, nothing but praise for this film, as it felt like an X-Files episode, but in the greatest way possible. And I'm all for these type of stories and the structure within horror films. Now, onto the best films of the year, in my opinion. At number 3 we have The Long Walk. This film was quite the watch, never truly knowing where the story is going and how disturbed or gruesome it really was, really adding to the shock factor, and it is really a great Stephen King adaptation that sadly didn't get enough love. At number 2 we have Mickey 17, another film which was fantastic but sadly failed to do well box office wise. The story was hooking, a great amount of laughs and great character development and cool action sequences added in for good measure. But At number 1, my all-time number 1 favourite film of the year is 28 Years Later. This film is my favourite for plenty of reasons, from spectacular performances from everyone to the creative angles used to create a horror atmosphere, as well as the soundtrack adding to the tension as well. But the story itself was its best feature, as it's a coming of age story in a zombie world, which is really rare and unheard of, and they executed it amazingly well, to the point that I'm really looking forward to seeing the sequel and where this franchise is going. And that is my list of what I thought was the best TV, film and music of 2025. Of course, if you do have any suggestions or recommendations, please leave them in the comments. I'm bound to check them out as this new year goes on. But anyway, thank you for watching, and of course, enjoy the new year.